This is the Anna Gale Lines Podcast, where we equip you with the tools and insights to take charge of your life and thrive. And here is your host, life coach and author, Anna Gale Lines.
Welcome to the Anna Gale Lines Podcast. I'm your host, Anna Gale Lines. In a world filled with constant pressures and uncertainties, it's no wonder that anxiety has become a prevalent issue for many individuals, from the overwhelming demands of work and school to the challenges of maintaining relationships and navigating through life's ups and downs. Anxiety can feel like an unwelcome companion that refuses to leave. But what exactly is anxiety? How does it affect our daily lives? And most importantly, how can we overcome it? So if you have been watching my videos, my podcast for any time, you know that I have struggled with anxiety. It was more prevalent 13 years ago, but I still on a daily basis will struggle with some form of anxiety. For me, in the household that I grew up in, I never felt safe. I had always some anxiety, some fear that I was going to get in trouble for something. School was actually the only place that I didn't feel like I was going to get in trouble. I was anxious when I would take a test. I would be anxious when I'd have to speak in public. I'd be anxious when I had to speak on the phone. I would be anxious if I had to talk to people that I didn't know. I was anxious to the point where I would have panic attacks. And they became more prevalent as I got into my 20s. And I had my first panic attack to the point where I thought I was dying. My heart pounded so badly that I thought this was it. That I was done. This is how it was going to end. But it wasn't. It was just the first of many panic attacks that I would have. I would go to a restaurant and I'd have to leave because I'd have such a bad panic attack. There was this fear running around in my mind. It was like a broken record in my head. It would get on one thought and it would not leave that one thought. And I couldn't think of anything else. I was focused on that one particular thought. And it wasn't until some of the stressors in my life left that I became more able to handle what was going on in my life and see where those triggers were coming from. But then if you grow up in that kind of environment, you tend to be the people pleaser, the person who doesn't want to make waves. You want to have a peaceful environment and you don't want anxiety. And those are the type of people that narcissists and bullies tend to pick on. So as I went along, I got into a situation where I had an ex who was a narcissist and was controlling, and he didn't think he was controlling. He thought it was me, but it wasn't me. He'd gaslight me. I would confront him on things and he would say he never said that. Typical gaslighting. And it got so bad that I just couldn't handle it anymore. And I had to walk away. I then had a boss who was like that, who was a narcissist and would micromanage everything I did. And she also would tell me to do things and then write me up because I did them. She would gaslight me into saying she never said that. She was upset that I would actually send emails instead of talking because I wanted a paper trail or electronic paper trail of what was being said. But when you grow up in that kind of environment, when you are that type of personality or you have that kind of trauma in your past, what tends to happen is that you develop more and more anxiety. Now, we fast forward 13 years, and what happens is I am now talking on the phone all the time, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm in a call center. I'm a pharmacy tech in a call center. I have to deal with people's issues. And sometimes, if they are being difficult, sometimes it will cause me anxiety. What am I going to say to this person? What am I going to do? But I have to remind myself that I will get through this. And I have the skills it takes in order to deal with this. But too many times, what happens is we let anxiety control our lives. It dictates what we are going to do and what we are not going to do. And we tend to shelter ourselves from anything that is outside of our comfort zone. So what is anxiety? Anxiety is a natural human response to stress or perceived threats. It is a feeling of unease, worry, or fear that can range from mild to severe. While it's normal to experience occasional anxiety in certain situations, such as before a big presentation or during a challenging life event, anxiety becomes a concern when it starts to interfere with our daily lives and well-being. So what are the symptoms of anxiety? Well, like I mentioned before, one of the physical symptoms can be a rapid heartbeat or palpitations. It can be sweating. It could be trembling or shaking, shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, chest pain or tightness, upset stomach or nausea, headaches, muscle tension or aches, fatigue or feeling tired, restlessness or feeling on edge. Psychological symptoms of anxiety may include excessive worry or fear, racing thoughts or difficulty concentrating, irritability or agitation, feeling overwhelmed or out of control, trouble sleeping or experiencing insomnia, avoidance of certain situations or places, panic attacks that come on suddenly and they're intense. You have intense episodes of fear or discomfort. Isolating ourselves or withdrawing from other people. Difficulty making decisions, feeling on edge or constantly anticipating danger. So one of the things that caused me anxiety growing up was not only having a mother who was controlling, but also I grew up in the church. And I was always taught that one day Jesus is coming back. So I always had this sense of dread when it came to that, because I felt like as a young child, why am I here if my life is just going to be cut off and I'm not going to be able to do anything of significance? And with that came a dread of death and dying, not only of other people dying, but my own demise as well. So from this early age, I am preoccupied with death and dying. And the problem with that is that as a young child, we should be dreaming and living for the future and believing that we can make a difference in life. We shouldn't be focused on death and dying. We shouldn't be focused on what it is that is going to get us in trouble. But that is how I grew up. And I grew up worrying about these things. And so I think that we have to be in tune with ourselves and find out what is causing our anxiety. What is triggering our anxiety? Is it people? Is it certain situations? What is causing your anxiety? So how is anxiety diagnosed by mental health professionals? Anxiety is typically diagnosed by a qualified mental health professionals, such as a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a licensed therapist. The diagnostic process involves a comprehensive assessment of the individual's symptoms, medical history, and personal experiences. And anxiety can only be diagnosed by a professional. So, what causes anxiety? So, there could be biological factors that cause anxiety. There could be a family history of anxiety or mental disorders. There can be an imbalance in brain chemistry. There can be an overactive stress response. There could be certain factors such as a traumatic events that have happened in your life, or a boss who micromanages you, or a narcissistic ex-boyfriend or husband. But also life changes can happen, such as moving or divorce or a loss of a loved one, that can cause us anxiety. And then some of us just have personality traits that tend to cause us to be more anxious than others, such as we have low self-esteem, or we excessively worry, or we're perfectionists, or we've had adversity and trauma in our childhood. So what are the long-term effects of anxiety? So it causes physical issues. It weakens our immune system. It increases the risk of cardiovascular problems. It could cause gastrointestinal issues such as irritable bowel syndrome or ulcers. It could cause us to have muscle tension, headaches, and chronic pain. And then it could also, if left untreated, it can also cause us to develop other mental health disorders. It could cause us to have depression or substance abuse disorders or eating disorders. It could also impair our quality of life because we don't get out of our comfort zone. We don't try new things. We isolate ourselves. We don't make new friends. We don't go after that promotion. And it disrupts our sleep. And it also disrupts our thinking. So it disrupts our memory and our concentration and our decision-making ability. And it also increases our likelihood that we will become addicts. We will use drugs and alcohol to mask our symptoms. So how can we manage anxiety? So first, we can practice relaxation techniques that help us calm our minds and bodies. We need to take deep breaths and calm ourselves down. We need to meditate, whether that looks like being still to you, or whether that looks like praying, or whatever that means to you. And we need to be mindful. We need to be in the present moment, because a lot of anxiety is caused by what ifs. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? Or it happens because we are rehashing what we did in the past. So usually anxiety is caused because we are thinking too much about the past, or we're thinking too much about the future. So we need to be in the present, in our present moment. And then we need to exercise, because exercise is shown to reduce anxiety and improve our mood. So we need to aim for at least 30 minutes of moderate exercise most days of the week. Find a activity that you enjoy, like walking or jogging or dancing or yoga or Pilates, or maybe it's playing tennis or volleyball. Maybe you can join a meetup group where you have volleyball tournaments, or you have tennis tournaments, or you play badminton. But we need to get exercise, even if that is just going for a walk every night or going for a walk in the morning, weather permitting. We need to get that exercise because A, we need the sunshine, and B, we need to be in shape. We need to get ourselves in good physical, healthy shape. And also, we need to prioritize our self-care, because too many times we're doing for everybody else. We're doing for the kids, and we're doing work, and we're trying to start that business, and we're trying to take care of other members of the family, and we're trying to take care of our friends, and we don't think about us. We get fast food on the run, or we don't get enough sleep, and we don't eat a balanced diet, and we consume too much caffeine and alcohol, which can worsen the symptoms of anxiety. So we need to engage in activities which bring us joy. Writing, music, painting. Maybe that is spending time with friends. Maybe that's going to read to the blind or spending time at the senior center. Maybe that's teaching a class. But we need to, or spending time in nature. We need to do things that bring us joy and help us to relax. We need to counter those negative thoughts. We need to identify our negative thoughts, and then we need to come up with positive thoughts to replace it. So every time we hear, "You can't do that," we replace it with, "I am capable. I have the skills to do this action." We need to challenge those negative thoughts. We need to replace it with positive thoughts, because we need to make ourselves believe positive things about ourselves instead of negative. Too many times it's that inner critic that we talked about last week coming and telling us we can't do things when we can do them. It's trying to convince us that we are imposters when we're not. We are capable of anything we put our minds to. Everything is figure outable. So we need to establish a routine. We need to establish like a morning routine of getting our lunch together and having time to meditate or read scripture or pray. We need to have time to do something that brings us joy in the morning or right before we go to bed. We need to have a regular sleep schedule. We need to put exercise in there, even if it's just a walk after dinner. Maybe you walk with your music on, or you walk while listening to a podcast or an audio book. We need to develop that predictable routine of stability so it reduces the anxiety in our lives. And then we need to limit our exposure to our triggers. So is it a person who's triggering you? Then you're going to want to stay away from that person. Or you're going to want to set boundaries with that person. If going to a bar causes you anxiety, then avoid the bar. Because maybe you think that you're going to drink too much. Or is it certain friends, toxic friends, that are causing you anxiety? You might want to go no contact. But we need to practice stress management techniques when we're faced with anxiety-provoking situations. So with your toxic friends, you can set boundaries. With that difficult customer, you could breathe. You can, walk away if you feel yourself getting angry. You could avoid places that lead you into the addictions, and that's why you're anxious, because you don't want to go back into those addictions. And we need to build a support network around ourselves. We need to surround ourselves with supportive and understanding individuals. Maybe that is your friends. Maybe that is a support group. Maybe that is, people who have been there, done that. But we need to rely on people to help us. We need to be able to share our feelings and our experiences with trusted people, members of our family, friends. But if they're toxic, don't share your experiences and feelings with them. Let them be. Go no contact if you have to. But you're looking for somebody who will have a listening ear and offer encouragement. And then consider relaxation techniques, such as listening to calming music, especially before you go to bed, or engaging in creative activities like writing or playing the guitar or painting or journaling. And journaling, not just like writing out your feelings, but maybe you do it as a metacog, which is that mind map that we used to do in English class. You could practice deep breathing. And another thing is that you can color. So one of the things that we have now is adult coloring books. And it's because when you're coloring, it calms you down. It calms down your anxiety level. So you might just want to color in a coloring book. And then you need to seek professional help. If your anxiety is so bad that it is crippling you and debilitating you, even if it's not, if you're feeling anxious and you keep having panic attacks, you might want to reach out to a professional. Many times people don't want to go to professionals because they don't want to A, be judged, and B, put on medication. But if you had an infection, you would want to be put on antibiotics so that you could get rid of that infection. So what is the difference between that and taking medication for your mental health? Maybe you don't need medication, just maybe you need talk therapy, but you need a licensed therapist to talk you through what is happening in your lives, because they can help you with coping strategies and helping you discover the underlying causes of your anxiety. And they could provide you with evidence-based treatments such as cognitive behavioral therapy or medication if necessary. But medication is not always necessary. So as we come to the end of our journey through the depths of anxiety, I hope that this video has shed some light on the complexities of this common mental health condition. Remember, you are not alone in your struggles, and there is always hope for a better tomorrow. By practicing self-care, seeking support, and implementing the strategies we've explored, you can take control of your anxiety and reclaim your life. Remember to be kind to yourself, prioritize your mental well-being, and reach out for help when needed. Thank you for joining us on this transformative journey. May you find peace, strength, and resilience as you navigate through life's challenges. Remember, you have the power to overcome anxiety and live a life filled with joy and fulfillment. Until next time, take care of yourself, and remember, you are stronger than your anxiety.
Learn more about Anna Gale or to purchase her fiction and nonfiction books, go to AnnaGaleLines.com. That is AnnaGaleLines.com. Right now, you can buy 3 ebooks and get the 4th one free. There you can sign up for the newsletter to keep up to date on what is happening in the world of the Anna Gale Lines podcast and her science fiction podcast, The Space-Tastic Mysteries, where you can hear installments of her novels. To follow her on social media, it is Anna Gale Lines on Twitter, Lady Anna Gale on TikTok, Anna Gale Lines Artist on Instagram, at the Anna Gale Lines podcast on YouTube. You can join the Facebook page at Author Anna Gale. Thank you for listening, and thank you for being you.